Stop me if you've heard this one before. The Browns have picked up a handful of injuries. That's right. Following their Week 2 preseason loss to the Vikings, the Browns come out somewhat limping, especially at a key position. So we're going to break down everything you need to know on that front, along with the potential addition of a former All-Pro player, a 5-time offensive lineman. So a lot to get to on today's episode. But let's start by talking about the Browns' slow start in the preseason, 0-2, and they really haven't looked competitive in either game. Let me just say this as clear as possible. Zero panic over preseason outcomes. I have no belief that the Browns losing 27-12 against the Vikings is going to be a reflection or an indication of what is to come in the regular season. Why do I feel that way? Because it's not the 2024 Browns playing against the Vikings. The guys on the field are not on the team when September rolls around. The preseason at this point has become, and I'm sorry for the guys playing in these games, a make-a-wish kid. Like, it is a bunch of guys that get to play and live a lifelong dream of playing in the NFL, and their friends and family should cherish it. They should cherish the opportunity. It's awesome. It's incredible. It's something I'll never accomplish. I don't want to take away them getting to that stage, but by no means have preseason games have any sort of bearing on the regular season, because coaches are starting to go down the path of we're not playing our starters anymore. We are seeing a lot of teams start to adapt the Sean McVay train of thought, which is we're setting our guys for, if not all, 90% of the preseason, which is not how it used to be. Back when you had 4 preseason games, week 3 was always the infamous dress rehearsal. The starters played the first half, and some teams play that way. The Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce out there. Andy Reid always plays his starters a good amount in the preseason, but the Browns don't. So if your team does not play their guys in the preseason, it's meaningless. And I shouldn't say that for someone that covers the team, because there's always storylines that we want to cover and we want to talk about. And there are some impactful ones, don't get me wrong. But by and large, no. 27-12 loss to the Vikings. If things do not go well for the Browns this year, it's not because of what happened in middle of August. Like, there's just no way that these two things are connected. I do not believe that whatsoever. So that's my TED Talk on not giving a damn about the Browns losing by 15 to the Vikings in the preseason, because it might be the Browns, but it's not the 2024 Browns. There's not a single starter or backup for the most part out there. It's a completely different team. My last thought would be this. It's like if a AAA baseball team was representing the majors. Like, if the AAA team lost to a team that put out their major league lineup, would anyone feel like the parent club of the AAA ball club would be the one that's going to be getting the reflection for that? No, of course not. But because it's all under the Browns umbrella, it feels like that's the representation of the Cleveland Browns. It's not. Half these guys won't even make the practice squad. Let's talk some injury news. James Hudson, who has been floating between left and right tackle and has unfortunately somewhat struggled, which is not ideal with the Browns having 2 guys on the PUP list. He is going to miss this upcoming week with an ankle injury he picked up in the Vikings loss, which is not good because the Browns are shorthanded at offensive tackle, and they planned on playing Deshaun Watson, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But Hudson out for at least a week. Hakeem Adeniji, he is going to be out for a handful of weeks with a knee injury. He was trying to chase down the defender who picked off Tyler Huntley. He actually made a pretty good play on the ball, showed some great effort. It was awesome to see him, busting his tail, try to make this roster and get some effort points, but it came at a price. So with a knee injury, we're going to miss him for the next few weeks. Germain Ifedi, he picked up a hand injury. He is expected to play this upcoming weekend in Seattle in the final preseason game, which is huge for the Browns because they're already down their 2 backups along with their 2 starters, of course. And then finally, Giovanni Ricci, who looked like the white Randy Moss on Saturday, he is going to be missing a few weeks with a knee injury. So unfortunate for him, he was putting together some really good tape and some great plays, and now he's sidelined for a handful of weeks. Now, this all comes with the Browns still having their top 2 tackles on the PUP list, Jed Wills and Jack Conklin. I'm starting to get concerned. I think we should all be a little bit concerned because It did not seem like the Browns would be going this far into training camp and preseason without at least one of these two guys. Now, Jack Conklin coming off another knee injury, and given his age, I think he gets a little bit of a longer leash in terms of when a realistic timeline for his return is. Jed Wills being younger, so his body's able to recover quicker than someone older, and him having his first major knee injury, I thought he'd be back a little bit quicker. I am officially concerned over Jed Wills. The overall tone and messaging coming either from the team or those close to the team back in the spring was, we'll have Jed Wills back for the training camp start. Like, if it's not the very start, it'll be pretty quickly into camp. He won't miss much time. He's out for this entire week of practice, so he has missed all 3 preseason games. And if I said back in April or May, yeah, Jed Wills won't be off the PUP list until after the 3rd preseason game at the earliest, I don't think you'd believe me. I mean, look what Mary Kay wrote back on June 18th. The Browns were hoping Wills would be able to participate in minicamp, but the surgically repaired knee torn MCL wasn't ready yet. The goal now is for him to be ready for training camp, even if he's limited at the beginning. Limited? I'd kill for limited right now. We're not getting anything from Jed Wills. It's 0 dark 30 from him. Jed Wills, Jack Conklin, out on the PUP list. And if they stay on the PUP list, by the way, after roster cutdown day, which is, I believe, 10 days from now, or yeah, something like that, they are out for the first 4 weeks of the regular season. And then James Hudson, who we just talked about, he's out this week with an ankle injury. Hakeem Adeniji is out for a handful of weeks with a knee injury, which leaves just DeJuan Jones, Germain Ifedi, and Lorenzo Thompson. Those are the only remaining guys. And DeJuan Jones is still working his way back from a knee injury, although he has still been able to participate in the preseason. So all that being said, Deshaun Watson, the plan all along was for him to play in the 3rd and final preseason game, which I don't have an issue with that approach from Stefanski. If you don't want to play your starters in 3 or 2 preseason games, but just 1, just to reduce the risk of injury, that's fine. At least they're still getting some reps before the regular season. But there's definitely some concern over Deshaun Watson dropping back to pass and UDFA Lorenzo Thompson blocking his blind side. That's going to make me a little bit uneasy, but I still think Deshaun Watson should play in the preseason. I mean, if you want to scheme things up a little bit differently now, have a bunch of shorter route concepts so the ball goes out quicker, and have Watson be on the same page of, hey, it's a preseason game. You don't need to be a hero. Don't extend the play and take unnecessary hits. If it's not there, just throw it out of bounds, and we'll get you through a few series so you can start to get back in the rhythm, because we know historically Watson has gotten off to slow starts to begin the year in his NFL career, so you already have that kind of factoring in, along with him coming off a shoulder surgery. And then if you want to compound it to make it worse, not playing a single snap in the preseason, and you got Micah Parsons and the Cowboys defense awaiting you week 1, that's a perfect recipe for an absolute shit show at home. So I would love to try and reduce those factors to what's already going to be a challenging start to the year by having him shake some of the rust off, knock the cobwebs out in preseason week 1 in Seattle. So let me ask you this question. Should Watson play in the preseason finale? Give me a yes or give me a no in the comment section. I think he should. I think there's a 1% club of players that never need to play in the preseason because they're so proven that they can just flip a switch and go from 0 to 100 for week 1 of the regular season, like Tom Brady, Myles Garrett, Justin Jefferson, like the guys who are at the top of their positions. We don't need to see them in the preseason. But pretty much anyone else that's even somewhat questionable should at least play a series so they're not walking onto the regular season field for the first time in 8 months and then making a couple of mistakes early on that could have been avoided if they had a few series in the preseason. Speaking of the offensive line from earlier, though, there's been a lot of chatter about the Browns maybe going after David Bakhtiari. So the 10-year vet for the Green Bay Packers. He was Aaron Rodgers' left tackle, 5-time All-Pro, 3-time Pro Bowl guy. Has unfortunately had a lot of injuries the last couple of years. He has played in 1 game, 2 out of the last 3 seasons. Was it 2021? He played 1 game. 2022, he played 11 games. 2023, he played 1 game. He has missed a ton of time. He had to get knee surgery last year after coming back from a previous knee surgery. But reading up on it, when you get the knee surgery towards the end of 2023, the thought was, hey, we're going to go and get a knee surgery done that's going to fix the problem, because before we weren't really sure what the problem was. Now we do, and now we can correct it once and for all. So that was the general thought process when he got his final or most recent knee surgery. So if Bakhtiari is healthy, why not bring him in for a workout? Like, you're shorthanded as it is. You don't really know when Jed Wills or Jack Conklin is coming back. There's not a lot of confidence in James Hudson starting at left tackle. There's a 5-time All-Pro player sitting at home right now, and if he's healthy and he's in football shape, which you can determine that in a workout and a physical, I don't see a single downside to bringing him in. You do not want to mess around with the offensive tackle position. It's a pillar position. It's a cornerstone piece. It's a reason why offensive tackle is the highest paid guy on the offensive line. He's one of the first to go in the NFL draft. You do not want to mess around with it. And the Browns last year were learning that lesson the hard way. Not that they did anything wrong, but they went through their top 3 tackles. You are now in a spot where you are already down 2 out of your top 3 tackles if Wills and Conklin remain on the PUP list to open up the year. I, for one, don't want to watch the James Hudson show. Like, it didn't go very well last year, and I don't think we've seen much improvement this year to believe he is ready to start week 1 at left tackle. If Bakhtiari is healthy and can play, bring him in. Now, with all that being said, a move is coming. Like, there's just no way the Browns are not going to bring another offensive lineman, whether it's a notable name like Bakhtiari, who's going to be a little bit more expensive, or a more low-level signing of someone we've never heard of, but someone's coming in. There's just too many injuries at that position for the Browns not to at least have a backup, because at the moment, I think they're too deep at Germain Ifedi and Lorenzo Thompson. That's just not going to cut it even for the preseason game. All right, to wrap up today's video, I want to share a tweet I got from, that says, when I said that I have no concern over the Browns losing the preseason game to the Vikings, they said no concern at all. If you rank preseason team performance, we're probably at the bottom 3. I have not cared to watch other teams preseason. I hate the preseason. If it's on when I'm walking past the TV, sure, I'll look at it. But no, I'm not spending the time to evaluate other teams' preseasons, although I do know the Steelers' preseason has gone horrible, which is kind of funny. But they added, should do a video looking at last year's preseason versus regular season record. So what I wanted to do was share, since the NFL expanded to 17 regular season games and 3 preseason games, how have the playoff teams under this new schedule fared in the preseason? Here's what I found. Since 2021, so 3 years, that's a lot of sample size, every team that made the playoffs had a combined preseason record of 50, 63, and 3. Only 4 teams went 3-0 that went on to make the playoffs. 13 teams went 2-1. Pretty impressive. 8 teams went 1-2. 9 teams went 0-3. I mean, just think about all the teams that made the playoffs the last 3 years. More than double didn't even win a preseason game compared to going undefeated in the preseason. So when I mentioned earlier, I have no concern over how the Browns perform in the preseason as a team, since that team is not even the 2024 Cleveland Browns. This is why. I mean, majority have a losing record, 50 and 63 and 3. The Rams won the Super Bowl without winning a single game. The Chiefs won a Super Bowl by going undefeated. So what does it all mean? It means there's no correlation. If anything, you want to do worse in the preseason. I don't think anyone's advertising for that, but no one should be thinking, hey, this is going to come back to haunt the Browns. It could come back to haunt the Browns if the starters don't play at all in the preseason and they come out looking slow and sloppy. You can make that connection. You can make a connection if a guy who's a starter or has a big role has a bad preseason and you don't make a change. But what you cannot do is go, man, the Browns' ground game in the preseason has really stunk. The Browns' ground game in the preseason has not featured any of the 5 starting offensive linemen or Nick Chubb. That's the Browns' 2024 ground game. It's a different team. It's a minor league affiliate. If the NFL had minor league affiliates, if they got to that point, this is what it would be like. This would be spring ball. Like, it would be spring training. How many teams have really in the middle of June thought back and go, I could have told you about this when I was watching them in February in Florida? No one. Nonsense. All right, this week's goal. I want to reach 35,500 subscribers. We are 74 subs away. So if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, you're looking for more free Browns content, hit that sub button down below and lock yourself in. By the way, that David Njoku jersey I've shared a couple of times is still available at Fanatics. So go to chatsports.com/Njoku. I put that link in the comments and description of today's video. So I appreciate everyone for supporting us here. And if you want to get yourself a nice David Njoku jersey on sale, go to chatsports.com/Njoku. This happens once every 2 weeks. I forgot to get my cards. So we're just going to do a random card picker from my computer. Which card do you want to go with, Mr. Reed?
I'm going to go with Ace of Spades.
Ace of Spades? Okay. I'm going to go with the 5 of Clubs. All right. I'm going to hit draw on camera so you guys can see it change. 9 of Spades. 9 of Spades. 9 of Spades. All right. That will do it for us on today's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and go Brownies.